Good evening, believers. How are you doing today? This is Love Coach Dasha coming to you today for the Healing Hour Live. Now, if you've never been with me before, I am a coach specifically for women who want to heal and reconcile and work things out after infidelity. No matter where you are in this process, it could have just happened and you are in that devastation phase and you are not sure whether you even want to do this or not, but something in you keeps calling you, keeps pulling you towards this person. You want to be with them, even though they hurt you this bad. Or you could be a couple of years out and you've stayed, but you're not quite sure how to get to the point where you're actually healed from it. Or you could be even further out than that. You could be like 5 or so years out from that. And you have just gotten to that bitter, resentful, angry place. Okay. I am here for all of you, for wherever you are on this path. If you want to stay and you want to reconcile and you want things to be better, I am here to teach you how to do that. All right. So I hope you all had a great Christmas yesterday. If you don't celebrate, if it's Hanukkah, if it's Kwanzaa, whatever it is, I hope you are having a fabulous holiday season thus far. This is our last Healing Hour Live for 2024. So, a little bit, I'm going to talk to you about creating your vision for what you want your relationship to be in the following year, in 2025. What's the vision for being healed, being happy, being trusting? What does that look like? All right. We are going to talk a little bit about it today. Okay. All right. So, the first thing that we always talk about every time we get together is the fact that this is a real physical thing that happened to you. This is not in your imagination. This is not just, oh, your feelings. Okay. This is a real physical thing that happened to you. It is a trauma. And if we are going to deal with the trauma, we've got to deal with our bodies at the same time. So, the huge thing that I'm always going to tell you to do every time we get together is do your deep breathing. Have you been doing your deep breathing? I need you to do that, okay? I need you to get on that if you have not been doing it, and especially during the holiday season, you really need it then, okay? You need some way to bring yourself together, to calm yourself down, to let your body and your brain know that, hey, I'm not actually in any danger right this second. I know I was hurt. Yes, I was. However, right this minute, I am not actually in any danger. I don't need that fight or flight response right this second. Thank you very much. So, we've got to teach our bodies to understand that. And the way that we teach them that is by doing our deep breathing. We've got to do our deep breathing 5 times a day. I want you to commit to that. Commit to making that your practice. If you have not done anything else that I've ever suggested, do that this week. Get your practice of doing your deep breathing 5 times a day down, and you will see a difference. Soon as this year is gonna roll over, you are gonna be experiencing differences already just because you started doing your deep breathing for like this next week. Okay, you're gonna feel it, you're gonna know it. Okay, so I want to do 4-7-8 breathing. Now you can do whatever kind of breathing you like. Doesn't really matter to me as long as you're doing some deep breathing. Okay, but 4-7-8 breathing is the one that I happen to like. It's the one that I happen to do. You blow out, try and empty out your lungs, make that whooshing sound when you blow. You want to make that noise and trigger your brain to know that, oh, she made that noise. Everything must be all right. She must be calming down. You can get good triggers as well as bad triggers. So we need to make that good trigger of blowing out. Then we're going to inhale for a count of 4, hold that breath for a count of 7, and then we're going to blow out like we're blowing out an entire cake full of birthday candles for a count of 8. Now, we're going to do that 3 times together, but I want you to be doing this 5 times in a row, just so you can get into the habit of doing it every time you get a little bit anxious, every time you are starting to stress, every time your mind is starting to race, every time your heart starts to pick up. Do your deep breathing, okay? Let's see. Yeah, we're gonna do it 3 times for the sake of time. Join me, will you, for your deep breathing? All right, come on in here. We're getting ready to do our deep breathing, starting with blowing out. Inhale through your nose. 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Blow out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Blow out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Last time. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Blow out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Beautiful. Hope that feels good. Tell me about it if you're here with me now. Let me know how the deep breathing does for you. Does it make you feel better? Does it make you feel a little clearer? Does it make you feel sleepy? What is it that you feel when you are experiencing this? Because this is a physical thing, okay? We are working on not just our thoughts, we are working on what our bodies are actually doing that make this last forever. The fact that you are years out, if you're years out and you're years out and you're still feeling as strongly about it as you did when it first happened, that is because it is a trauma response. Your brain doesn't recognize that all that time has passed. It just knows that it's a bad thing that happened and it is very, very present for you all the time. All right. And your body feels it. Your body feels it as a threat. Your body feels it as I am going to be hurt some way, shape, or form by this situation. And so it'll try and make you run. It'll try and make you do all sorts of terrible things to your spouse just because you're so angry and you're so worried about protecting yourself. This is a physical response. We got to do physical things to stop it. All right. Oh, the next thing that I'm always going to tell you every time we get together, I need you to be doing your journaling. Have you been doing your journaling? If you have not been doing your journaling, you are doing yourself a grave disservice. I am trying to tell you, you need that in your life. I've been doing this for years. I still journal most days, okay? Still. Break that bad boy out, start writing just whatever's going on in the moment, whatever I am physically feeling, whatever thoughts are crossing my brain, whatever it is in that moment, I spend about 5 minutes writing about it. And I can always come back and be like, okay, yeah, there's a pattern. I remember, okay, yeah, I felt like this that day, and I felt like this the next day. Ooh, this is a pattern. I know what this is about. You will have clues. You will have something laid out in your own words about what you're feeling and what you're going through. And it's going to give you the clues in order to stop the trauma response from happening over and over and over again. We must know these things, so we've got to write them down. I know that your memory seems like it's super sharp right now, but it is not. Under a trauma, your memory sucks, okay? It narrows down your focus so that you are missing things that are pretty important, but you don't think of them as important because they're not immediate threats. So we've got to start writing these things down. First thing in the morning when you wake up, about 5 minutes. Last thing before you go to sleep at night, about 5 minutes. You don't have to write a book. You don't have to just extend it out for hours. 5 minutes is good because the most important things will bubble up to the surface. Write those down, keep on going, okay? All right. The things that you need in your journal, you need your date, you need your time, you need your level of anxiety. All right. Your date and time are going to tell you when things happen so that you can anticipate when they are going to happen again. Then your level of anxiety is 0 to 10. We have got to put a fence around these feelings. We have got to make sure that these feelings cannot get so big that they're going to eat us. Okay. So we can only be from 0 to 10. 0 is no anxiety whatsoever. Everything is beautiful. All is right with the world. Write that down. You want to write down if you're a 1, if you're a 0, hell, if you're a 2, okay? If you're like, you know what? Actually, life is actually going pretty well. And I'm feeling it right now. And I know that I'm not completely better, but I'm not as bad as I could be. Write that down. You want to write down the good days. You want to write down the days where you're not overwhelmed, so that you can remember, oh, I know it feels like I'm overwhelmed all the time, but actually not. I'm actually not overwhelmed every single minute of the day. I remember because I wrote it down in my journal. Then a 10 is an absolute loss of control. A 10 is I am screaming, I am throwing things, the police may be called. I am talking about losing control of yourself to the point where there may be some police involvement, okay? That bad. All right, you are doing things that are not within your character. You have kind of lost yourself for a moment. Now, if you are in that state, you're not writing at your journal. So don't sit down at your journal and be like, oh, right this minute, I feel like a 10, because you're not losing control of yourself if you're sitting down and writing in your journal. That's not a 10. You can write about it from before. You can write that, oh yeah, I lost it. I lost control of myself. It was an absolute 10. This is what was happening. You can write it down afterwards, but don't sit there in the moment and think that you're writing down a 10 for real, because you will skew your vision of what the scale is. You want to make sure that in the moment, if you are a 10, you can acknowledge that you are a 10 and there is nothing else that you can do about it. You're just freaking out. Okay. All right. Those three things need to be in the journal. Now, before you start writing, put your level of anxiety. And then after you write, put your level of anxiety. You will find that it will fall most of the time. Sometimes you'll get yourself more worked up. It does happen. But a lot of the time, if you write it down, it's a catharsis about letting it out. And your body and your brain say, oh, she wrote it in the special book. That must mean that we're going to remember this. And so it doesn't want to keep on throwing that same thought in your face over and over and over again. It's a very relieving way to go about it. Okay. We've got to make sure that we are writing consistently in the journal so that you can be a scientist and you can go back and look at dates and time and be able to figure out exactly what was going on, why things happened the way that they did, if you flipped out, if they flipped out, what was going on that made that situation happen. You'll know because it's in your journal. Okay. All right. Next thing that we're always going to talk about every time we get together, honey, please. You've got to work on an attitude of gratitude, okay? It is so important. It is so super important. When we have been traumatized, our brains are going automatic pilot and they want to look for the most negative thing possible. Everything bad, everything horrible, your brain is searching for it. It wants to find those things to justify you isolating yourself, being away from people, closing yourself off, putting that wall up. It's trying to make it seem like that is a reasonable thing to do, that that's exactly the way you should live your life. But that's a kind of lonely way to live your life. I don't think I would want to be all by myself in a little hole somewhere instead of out here living in the world amongst you. Okay. I think that would be a little bit strenuous for me. If you would like to just live in a hole and not be messing with the rest of us, I get it. I understand it, but I don't want you to have to do it because of a fear response. That's all this is. It's a fear response. It is your brain telling you that, oh, you've got to keep yourself safe and isolating you from other people. So if it's what you want, that's one thing. But if your brain is just making you do it because it's afraid, then that's not any kind of way to live. You don't want that. That's not the good ending to your story. Is, oh yes, I got scared off by being hurt and I put myself in a hole and buried myself and I never got to be with anybody ever again. That doesn't sound like a good ending. That's not a good happily ever after. We've got to work on getting to the real ending of your story, the real happily ever after, the real happy ending that you deserve. So I don't want you to get stuck feeling like your brain is correct telling you all these awful things. It's not. Your brain will just piece out just those little terrible things, even amongst all the good things that are happening. If you change that around, if you stop your brain mid negative thought and say, wait, whoa, I want to think of what I'm grateful for. I want to think about what I am grateful for today. That is what I am focused on. I am not going to focus on the negative. I am not going to sit here and think about what I don't have, the ways that everything is lacking in my life. That is not healthy for me to look at, and it's not helping me in any way, shape, or form. It's just making me feel bad. So I'm going to go for gratitude. What am I grateful for in this life? And honey, you can be grateful for everything, okay? Be grateful for this body that you're in. Be grateful that you can walk around, that you have legs that function, and that you can actually take steps in the world. That is one thing that people don't appreciate very much. And I was a nurse for a long time. I know plenty of people who do not have that, who do not have 2 feet to walk upon. So, basics, go to the basics. Start with this body. I am grateful that my toenails protected my feet because I stumble a lot, and I stub my toe on a regular basis, and it's great that the toenail is there and preventing me from breaking my toe. I am grateful that I am 6 feet tall, and I stand above most people, and I like being the attention of being so tall. All sorts of good stuff, all sorts of beautiful things about yourself you can be grateful for, and then it spreads out. Once you've cracked that code in your brain on the negativity, on the trauma, wants to look for the negative, and so it keeps on circling back around the negative. If you interrupt that cycle and say, no, 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 I want you to look for the positive, that's what it's going to look for. The same way that if you tell your brain that you want it to look for a yellow car, all you'll see is yellow cars. You'll be seeing yellow cars all day long everywhere you go. That's what you're doing. You are instructing your brain what you want it to do and expecting it to follow through with that task. And it will, okay? Because you are the boss. You are in control of your brain. I know it feels like your brain is in control of you. It is not. You are the thinker. You are not the thoughts. Your brain is doing a program, it's doing what it's programmed to do. You have choices. You have a conscious understanding of what your brain is doing in this trauma situation, and you can choose not to do the thing. Just because it's automatic doesn't mean that you can't stop it. Okay. Anybody got any good things they were grateful for? I'm grateful for the holidays. I am. I'm grateful for time off. I'm grateful for I, I got to see a new patient today. I used to, I go see patients sometimes. I go see home care patients. I got a new patient today. I'm grateful for them. Grateful for that family. I I'm grateful for like my entire life. I try and write down something every day that I'm grateful for, put it down like physically, tangibly on paper, stick it in a jar, and come back at the end of the month and read the things that you're grateful for. It will put a smile on your face. It will relieve some of the ache in your heart if you read it all together. Okay. That's the great thing to have in your journal. Just use like the back page of your journal to start a list of things that you're grateful for on that back cover, on that back page, and see how far into the journal you can get being grateful. Okay. All right. The last thing that I'm always going to tell you every time we get together is I need you to stop asking all those questions. I do. I do. I need you to stop doing that. And I know your brain doesn't like that. Your brain says, no, no, I must have all of the answers. There is no way that we can move on and we can be together if he doesn't answer every single one of these questions. And I'm here to tell you that as a trauma response, your brain is messing with you. That's not true. You can move on just as fine as you would want to if you decided to. You got to make up your mind that what you want to do is move forward. If you don't make up your mind and change your mind from what it's doing, the automatic trauma response that it's doing, it will just keep on doing the same thing. If you don't stop yourself from asking the questions, you just fall deeper and deeper into the trauma rabbit hole. It just keeps going and going and going. There is no great answer. There is no answer that will bring you peace. There is no answer that will bring you tranquility. There is no answer that will give you the oomph you need to say, you know what, I feel it completely. I believe in this relationship. I want to be together. There is nothing he can say because your reasons for wanting to be with him are coming from inside you. The call's coming from inside the house, okay? You do not need to worry about trying to make him do what you need him to do for you to make up your mind. So if you're like, oh, if I gotta get all the answers to this question, then I'll be okay. Then we'll be all right. If you're waiting for something outside yourself, you will be waiting for the rest of your life. It does not work that way. That's where a lot of people get stuck. If you're like 5+ years out from this, still in the same relationship, but still miserable, you didn't decide. You didn't change it. You didn't say to your brain, hey, look, this is the person I love. I want to be close to them, and then choose to be close to them. You chose to continue on with the trauma response, and then your brain got used to that. And so you think that that's what the relationship is supposed to be like, but it's all trauma response. So we've got to be consistent about this. If you want to be 5 years out feeling better, feeling trusting, feeling close, you've got to start working on the physical reactions that are going on inside your body. And the questioning is one of those physical reactions. Your brain gets crowded with all these questions. It wants to know all the answers. And the more you ask the questions, the more you reinforce that feedback loop. And so then your brain is like, yes, we're on the right track. Ask more questions. Don't accept those answers. Ask more questions. And then it just keeps going and going and going. And then you're angry because he can't give you a good enough answer. He will never be able to give you a good enough answer. There will not be an answer that comes out of his mouth that will satisfy you, that will make you feel better, that will make you trust him again. There is no answer. So trying to go on and on and on and on and on with the questioning is just going to make both of you miserable. It's just punishing the both of you for an infinite amount of time for absolutely no reason. Doesn't get you anywhere. So that all being said, I do understand that it is a trauma response and that it's almost an itch inside your brain. It's like if you could reach into your ears and shake it around a little bit, it would be better. But you can't, right? You've got to ask some question to make the itch go away. And it actually, the questions that you want to ask will never make the itch go away. Let's get that clear right now. The questions that you want to ask will not make that itch go away. It will just make the itch worse. But I got a way that will maybe make it a little bit better. Try this. This is the and, THEAND. These are excellent questions. This is the Healing Edition deck. You can find it on Amazon for like $30. Get this, okay? If you want to ask questions, these are the questions you should ask. These are not all about pain and suffering. There are some about, bad things that have happened in the relationship, but it's the Healing Edition deck is to try and get you to be closer, try to get you to a place where you're understanding one another more, where you're more open and compassionate to one another. So try these out instead. Instead of asking the questions that are in your head, what made you think you could get away with lying to me like this? And why in the world did you tell that person that you love them? All of that, they're not good questions. They're not going to help you, but these questions might. Okay. So I'll give you a couple of these to ask. First thing was, what's the first thing you noticed about me today? Wouldn't you like to know that? Wouldn't that make you feel real special? Wouldn't it make you do that thing again? All right. What is the first thing you noticed about me today? Now, if he says the first thing I noticed about you today was you were mad, you got to receive that, okay? Don't be asking questions if you don't want to hear the answers. What's the first thing you noticed about me today? All right, give you another one. This one says, how do you know when I'm having a great day? That's a great question, right? If you didn't know, because it's absolutely possible that you might not know, but he notices, hey, X, Y, and Z happens, and you are having a wonderful day. You are great. You are friendly. You're not stressing about anything. You get close with me. Those days, that's what happens when that day happens. These things happen. If you didn't know that, you might have missed an opportunity to actually do things that make you feel good because you weren't aware of him and he was. That's an excellent question right there. How do you know when I'm having a great day? You might have missed it. You might have missed it. Sometimes it happens like that. And then one more. What's your biggest source of pain right now? All right. And don't expect it to be, oh, you're sad with me because I hurt you. What if it's his job? What if it's he can't see his children? He's got kids before you can't see his kids. What if it's something that doesn't have anything to do with you and you don't know that that's his biggest pain? You need to ask questions like these. These are good questions to give you some insight on the person that you're dealing with. Okay. What's your biggest source of pain right now? Okay. Much, much better questions, I'm sure, than the ones that you want to ask. The ones that you want to ask, the ones that keep running around in your brain over and over and over again, write them down in your journal because you will find out how many times you want to ask that same exact question. Even if you've gotten an answer from it before, you will want to ask the same question over and over and over again. Write it down in your journal first. Write them in like a different color if you can. Whatever question it is that you have, write those down and then come back at the end of a week, 2 weeks, and see how many times you've said the same thing. See how many times you've asked the same question. See how many times you've gotten an answer but didn't like the answer and still wanted to ask the same question again. It happens. The trauma will make you forget. It will. All right, so everybody is with me now. If you've got anything that you're grateful for today, I definitely want to hear about that. But let me know, have you been doing these things that I've been telling you? Have you been doing your deep breathing, your journaling, your gratitude practice, your non-questioning? Have you been doing that? And how has it been working for you? Let me know in the comments. All right. So the next thing, gotta remind you all, if you've been having difficulty with your decision to stay and reconcile, if you've made the decision but you feel shaky on it, or you're angry that you had to make this decision in the first place, and that makes you feel like you're not sure if you really want to be in this situation, whatever it is, if you are feeling unsure about the decision to stay and work it out, you're struggling with it, come on and join in my group challenge, the Big D challenge. Okay. The Big D is your big decision to stay, to work things out. And this is my fourth time doing this, my fourth annual doing this. It is not just for when you're first starting out. If you have come a little ways, if you're already a few years in, but the decision still bothers you, you still feel like I could have just left. All right. I didn't even have to try and do all this with him. I don't know if I can trust him. If your decision is still a little shaky and unfirm at 3 years or so, come join my challenge. You'll feel more certain about your decision making at the end of the week. If it's been 5 years and you're off in the resentful territory and you're just roommates and you are just at the end and you're like, I don't even know why I stayed in the first place. This is not where I want to be. This is not what I want to do. But you're still staying. You're still working it out. You still want to, but you're really mad that you had to. Come join me for my challenge. It's going to help you make that decision and make that decision feel solid. Make it feel like you are in control of what your life is going to be from now on. That is a huge part of healing from this. This is a thing that happened to you that you didn't have control over. It's time to take control. It's time to take back control. It's time to make the decision and make it your own. Don't make it be about anything else except for what you want. If you can anchor yourself in that, a lot of the times everything else becomes so much easier because you're not depending on other people, other circumstances to convince you of your own decision. You've made the decision, you've decided that that's what you wanted, and then you're sticking with it because it's what you want. So, in my bio on Instagram and in the top of the Love After Cheating group, I want you to go ahead, click that link, sign up for the Big D Challenge. It starts on the 6th of January. It's going to be in the evenings because my work schedule changed. So I'm going to be here in the evenings with you doing that about 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time all through the week, the 6th through the 10th. I will be here with you, and check out it after you sign up for it. It's totally free. There's also the option to sign up for the VIP. And I'm going to go for about 20 minutes every day for the regular challenge, but then I'm going to spend another half hour with the people who have signed up for the VIP for just $27 for a fully comprehensive, just going through everything that I talked about, everything, every decision that they're feeling shaky about. You can come to my VIP session and we can actually plug this in and figure out exactly how to make you feel much more secure, much more certain about this decision, this huge decision that you're making. Okay. All right. Next thing, I want to talk to you about this year coming up, right? And you all let me know if you got questions, comments, thoughts, complaints. I am here for you. I will perfectly answer your questions if you come join me, all right? But for right now, I want to talk to you a little bit about your vision for 2025. Okay. I, when I work with people, when I work with women, if you get me one to one of the first things that I'm going to ask you to do is come up with a vision for what you want the relationship to look like now. What what is it? What is it going to be? What does it look like for you? How do you behave? How do they behave? How do you interact together? What is going to happen in your relationship from now on if you're staying? Okay, because you've got to recreate the relationship. Yes, it might have been pretty good before, but you're going to have to talk about things. We're going to have new boundaries. We're going to have some differences in this relationship going forward than the one that we had starting out. Now, relationships are like that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. No matter what, even if you've never been cheated on, that still is going to happen. Okay. Every year, you need to be focusing on what do I want my relationship to look like in this upcoming year, because circumstances always change. Everything changes. You are living a lifetime with someone. Every year is going to be a little different. You might have a couple years that are similar, but most of the time, I've been with my husband now for like 23 years. It's always different. Okay, it's always different. It's never just repeatedly being the same thing. Your kids are going to grow up, circumstances are going to change, jobs, all sorts of stuff is going to change. So you're going to have to do this anyway. But especially if you have been trying to deal with this infidelity, you want to know, okay, how am I going to feel? What is my definition of success? If I'm like, okay, in this upcoming year, what does it look like for me to have said, I'm glad I stayed. This is working. This is working out for me. You need to know what that is. So I want to ask you a few questions. All right. You let me know in the comments, whatever question strikes your fancy. But answer a few of these questions for me and write this down in your journal, what you're going to have happen in your relationship as you're going forward. All right. So when it comes to like communication, let's say that connection between the two of you, being able to talk to one another again, right? If been in this stressful situation, it's a little bit more difficult to talk, right? You feel like you're being misunderstood, they feel like they're being misunderstood. So that's the first thing. How do we communicate about our emotions? How do I communicate that I'm happy? What can I do? What can I say? Not just say, okay? Do too. All right. Your actions and your words, if you can line those up, you can be very, very clear in your communication. So, like a simple thing. My husband cooks. My husband is a cook, and delicious food. Okay. I am not this big for no reason. All right. So My honey, every time he has made something that he's feeling pretty good about, I can tell on his face because he's waiting for me to say, "Ooh, tasty, tasty." If I say that, that is a check mark in his book. That is, she loves it. She thinks that it's wonderful. This is going in the playbook. This is going to be appearing again on the menu. Okay, he knows that because that's what we've done to communicate. When we were when I was writing my book, The Wifey Handbook, um, at that point in time, we had gotten to a place where he was like, I shouldn't even have to say anything to you. I should be able to just grunt and you understand what I'm saying. And I was like a caveman? And he was like, yeah. He was like, you understand everything so well. I think you could do it. And so for like two straight years, we would grunt at each other. It would be like, ugh. And we could say ugh and point, and we would know what we were talking about. You've got to come up with shorthand between the two of you. What does it look like when I'm happy? What do I do when I'm happy? And what do I say when I'm happy? What do I do when I'm stressed? And then what do I say when I'm stressed? We need to be able to write those down. So that's the first thing. How do you communicate? What's your shorthand for communicating your feelings with your honey in 2025 as you were healing this up? What does an ideal date night look like? What does it look like for the two of you to have a perfectly romantic, happy, beautiful time together? Sit down, write out a couple of scenarios. Okay, this is a cheap date. This is a more expensive date. This is a more mid tier date. Write those things down. Write down, if you can find that date idea where it's like, okay, it costs us absolutely nothing, you want to have that on deck, but then you want to have something a little bit more special available too. So, what does a great date night look like for the two of you? Is it making sure that you have some wine together? Is it making sure that you watch some Netflix together? Is it making sure that you have sex together? What does a perfect date night look like? Low, mid, and high tier. Okay. Um, how will you express love and appreciation? Because it's real simple to express how angry you are, right? How disappointed, how sad, how upset. I know that's an easy thing to say. Rolls right off the tongue, but that's not going to be a healthy relationship. If you only communicate with them about negativity, that's actually an abusive relationship. I know. I shouldn't even say that about you because how dare I say that because you aren't being abusive. He was the one. I get it. I get it. But if you let yourself fall into the trap of, I'm never going to say anything positive to him at all. I'm always going to talk about how less than he is, how terrible he did me, how awful I feel around him. That's abusive language, okay? If you don't want to be with him, don't be with him. But you can't talk shit to somebody you love all day, every day, and expect them to believe that you love them. Okay. And you're not going to feel the love either. That's the big thing. If you want to feel the love, you're going to have to express the love. So, what does that look like? Loving, appreciating, telling them that, you know what? Yes, we are getting past this. I am sorry for the things that I said before. I'm going to change this around. I'm going to behave in a different way. What does that look like? Okay. Let's see. As far as like intimacy, closeness, affection, um, how are you going to show affection regularly? There's going to be some things that you're going to have to do. It's going to be like every single day, like clockwork. Okay. I know every day when I drop my husband off, I'm going to kiss him before he gets out of the car. And then I'm going to lean out my window and tell him, I love you and have a good day. Every morning, that's the thing. It is a routine. I don't even have to think about it real hard. What's the routine going to be? What's the routine going to be between the two of you to show that affection, to show that love on a regular basis? Um, let's see. How often are you going to be sharing those moments? Is it going to be just okay, when we get up in the morning, I'm gonna give you a kiss. When we're about to leave, I'm gonna give you a kiss. And then before you go to bed, I'm gonna give you a kiss. Like, is it gonna be just those times a day? Or is it gonna be like periodically through the day, I'm just gonna jump on you? Like, what is it gonna be? What does that look like if you're all healed up and you're completely happy and you're excited about this relationship? How will you be connecting? Um, what new things are you going to try to be intimate, to be closer? If you feel like there's a lack in there somewhere, what are you going to try that's different? What are you going to try that's a little bit different in bed? And can you and him try something different and actually laugh about it, to get to the place where you're like, oh, this was silly, I can't believe we did this, or oh my god, this is a great thing that we did, damn, we need to do this again. You're going to laugh either way at that situation. So if you're introducing things, new things that you can do together, you're going to be laughing, and that's going to increase your intimacy too. So what can you plan on that where you're laughing together, is it going to be watching a funny movie or a stand up or whatever every Friday night? We are going to have that. We're going to laugh together. We're going to let each other in a little bit. That's a good thing to know that you're going to do. Let's see. As far as like your shared vision, your dreams, your goals, okay? What are the top 3 goals you're going to be working towards this year, 2025? 3 things that you're going to be making sure are important. You are putting up money for them, you're scheduling them, you are making sure that you do them. All right. What are 3 things that you're going to put on the calendar and make plans towards achieving this year? Because if you got the plans and you and I both know what the plan is, and then we work together on the plan, that's trust building. That is making sure that I am including you in my life, and you're including me in yours. That is mutual respect and understanding. It is planning out something fun together. You've got to make sure you got those things that you really, really want to have done this year. Put them on the calendar and start planning towards them together as a unit. How you gonna celebrate milestones? I know after the infidelity, that's a really hard thing, right? You feel like, I can't even be open and loving and happy on this anniversary because you're gonna think that everything is fine and it's just okay that you did me like that. So I don't want you to think that. So I'm gonna make sure I punish you on this anniversary. And then that's not very much fun now, is it? All right. That's something the narcissists do. Okay. And according to what everybody says, that's what narcissists do. I'm going to ruin a good moment by making it all about me. So we've got to make sure that we're anticipating those milestones, those achievements, the things that we're going to celebrate, and that we're not stepping on ourselves or stepping on our partners when those things happen. We've got to make sure that, next Christmas is a big thing, and we're going to be together, and we're going to buy certain gifts, and we're going to hang out with the family, whatever it is. We're going to go on summer vacation together, and we got to make sure that we got the money right, got the plane tickets right, got all of the activities planned, all of the good stuff. I want you to anticipate things together. Okay? Got to make sure you know what this year is going to look like. Gotta come up with some good adventures. That's a big thing. Um, think about traditions and routines. Things that you're gonna do automatically, things that come around periodically, every week, every month, every year. What are we gonna be doing that is a routine every single solitary day? Is it gonna be every day he's gonna wake up and he's gonna make coffee and he's gonna bring you a cup of coffee in bed? Wouldn't that be a lovely little thing? You got to make up your mind that that's what we're going to do. And then you do those things for each other back and forth. And you kind of come up with the things that are most suited to you. You come up with the things that make you feel a little something in your chest when you do them and when you have them received to you. But it can be all sorts of things, and you can switch around and see, what makes you feel the most special that this person can do. What are your individual dreams too? We're talking about the relationship. We're talking about recreating the actual relationship, but what are your individual goals? Does somebody need to go back to school? Does somebody need a new career? What is happening that we will actually progress as individual human beings too? Because a relationship is important, absolutely, but we are still two distinct individuals and we both still have goals that we need to work towards. Are you trying to get a raise or a promotion at your job? Or are you trying to become a stay-at-home parent? All sorts of things could be going on that you individually want to do. We've got to make sure that we're scheduling those things, making sure that those things take priority too. As far as like trusting, healing, forgiving, um, I want you to pick a word or maybe a couple of words that symbolizes I'm forgiving. I am in, I may not be feeling it at the moment, but I am forgiving you. If you can come up with like a code word for that, it's very useful. So then they say that code word to you, and you're like, oh, maybe I'm not acting too forgiving right now. Okay, let me work on that. And then you actually have some way to focus on it. What does the trust look like? What does the trust between the two of you look like? How do you know that you're going to be trusting? How do you know what trusting actually is? What are you going to feel when you feel like you are really trusting him? Like, what does that feel like? What is the definition of that? What is he doing? What are you doing that makes you feel like, okay, yes, I can trust? Because trust, again, comes from inside you. It's your belief about a certain circumstance or person. So if you've got to focus on your belief, you got to figure out exactly what that feels like. What does it feel like to feel like you believe in somebody, like it's trusting? What steps can you take to behave in a more trusting manner? What can you do and say that says that you trust? The big key on that is that trust is a belief and it is worked out like every other muscle in the body. If you want it to be stronger, you've got to work out that trust muscle and you've got to work it out against resistance. The resistance is, I don't know if this is a good idea. I might be hurt. That's the resistance. So we have got to work that trust muscle against the resistance that our mind is coming up with and actively decide every day I am trusting. I trust. I forgive. I'm going to behave like I trust because that's how you get to trusting is behaving like you're trusting. Um, what do you need to feel emotionally safe and supported? Now, the trauma is going to try and make that be a huge thing. The trauma is going to try and make him be completely responsible for your sense of emotional safety and support. And that's not cool. All right. That's codependency. That's not the same thing. You feeling emotionally safe and supported is a lot going to have to come from you. You being emotionally safe has to come from inside. You have to know that you are capable of handling almost anything. And the fact that you are doing this, that you are gone through this pain and you are still here and you are still loving, you have determined that you can be emotionally safe for yourself. You have decided what you wanted and you followed through with it, even though it was scary. That is an emotionally safe person. You don't need somebody else to make you feel emotionally safe. But what would you like from your partner? What would you like them to be doing on a regular basis to let you know, okay, hey, I do see you, I do love you, I do care about your feelings and your emotions. This is what I can say to you and do for you that will let you know that I feel like that. What's that thing? What is that thing from them? And getting to the boundaries, remember, boundaries are not rules for another person. Boundaries are all about what you will do if this person crosses that line. All right. So we've got to make reasonable boundaries. That's the first thing. If you're making boundaries that were only made because you got cheated on, those are probably not really reasonable boundaries. If they weren't things that you would have thought of before you got cheated on, it's probably safe to say that it's all about the fear with those boundaries, and they're probably going to lead you wrong. Stuff like, oh, he can't have social media, but you can. All right. That's not a reasonable boundary. It's not. That is trying to make rules for a grown person like they're a child. And that's not going to work in the relationship. And it's not fair either because you still get to be online, but they can't be online. No, that's not going to work. Things like that, that only came about because you got cheated on, that only came into your mind as a problem because of that, are probably not going to be very reasonable, very understandable boundaries. Now, your boundaries, like I said, they're all about what you're going to do. You've got to figure out what your actual boundaries are and what you're actually willing to do. You can say, that, oh, if you cheat on me again, I will just walk out the door and I will never speak to you again and you'll never see me again. You can say all that. You can say that that's your boundary, but if you actually won't go through with that, if this is just a threat trying to make him get into line, it's not going to work, number one, and it's not a boundary. Number two, all right, if you're not willing to follow through with the consequence, it's not a real boundary. So it's all about you and what you are willing to follow through on. If you're not willing to follow through on it, don't say it. Don't sit there and lie. Be like, oh no, I never want to see you again, and then you're together the same night. No, don't do that. Don't even paint yourself into that corner. But figure out what the boundaries are going to be for the relationship. Things that things that are based solely in fear, like he can't be on Snapchat or whatever it is. Take a moment to consider those. Is this sustainable for the rest of your life? Is this something that you could actually maintain and it's a reasonable thing to maintain for the rest of both of your lives? If not, you might want to rethink it. Okay. So that's about that was about a dozen questions, I think, that I want you to start with, but then expound upon them. Okay, put them in your journal, write them down. I need you to give me a beautiful vision for what your life is going to look like as you are healed, as you are feeling good, as the relationship is progressing, as you are feeling like you can put this in your rear view mirror. What does that look like in your life? And if you write that down and you reread it on a regular basis, hell, go to ChatGPT if you need to. Tell them, I am absolutely sad and miserable about being in this relationship after the infidelity, but I do want to stay and I love them and I do want to be with them. What does my future look like? What does a wonderful, happy, beautifully trusting future look like with my partner if I go ahead and stay? All right, you can put it in. I swear, more than likely, ChatGPT will come up with something that'll make you cry. So go ahead and do that for me. This is my last assignment for you for the upcoming year. Going into 2025, I want you to have that vision. It's going to be your roadmap. It's going to be your map to let you know, am I in alignment with this? Am I going in the direction that this description is making? If you are doing things that's not in it, if you're doing things the opposite of what is happening in that description, you've got to get into alignment with what you want. And then you will start to have that success. You will start to feel good. You will start to feel more trusting and open and happy because you're in alignment with what you really, really want. Mm, goodness. All right. All righty, y'all. Any questions, comments, thoughts, complaints? Anything for the rest of the evening or the rest of the year? Let me know in the comments. Allergies acting up. Wintertime. I shouldn't have allergies now, but I live in Virginia. Mm-mm-mm. Anything? Anybody with me? Want to ask any questions? Remember to go ahead and sign up for The Big D Challenge. If you're struggling with the decision to stay and reconcile, I will help you with that. We're working on that for an entire week starting January 6th. Get your copy of the Dreams Formula, my formula for how to heal and reconcile after infidelity. That is at the top of my group. It's in my bio on Instagram. Totally free resources for you. All right. And if you are having trouble with rebuilding the intimacy after the infidelity, go ahead and hit me up. I got a program that's getting ready to start. I don't have enough people. I don't have all the people that I want. So I want more people to be joining me for that. So if you're having trouble with the intimacy part, feeling like you just can't get to the place where you feel really comfortable, feeling like you're disgusted, feeling like you can't stop comparing the two of you, her and you inside your brain. The focus is all off. You can't think about just being intimate with them because you're playing back videos of the two of them together in your head. Even if you ever even seen them together, you will start playing those videos of the two of them together, believing that you can read minds. All right. If you are having trouble with that, if you are having difficulty with getting back to the intimacy, getting back close and connected after the infidelity, message me because I got a fantastic program for that. Okay. The last thing that I'm always going to tell you every time we get together is to do your affirmations. If you have been going through this trauma, your brain is going to be automatically going towards the negative. It wants to see the negative. It wants to pay attention to the negative because that reinforces that you're in danger and you need to back away and you need to be in a hole somewhere and you need to be isolated from people. It will try and reinforce that thought by showing you all the negatives, including every negative thing that you've ever thought about yourself. So you've got to combat that by using your affirmation. You've got to tell yourself, look, that is not true. What my brain just said about me, I understand that it was trying very hard to protect me and trying to tell me something negative about myself to make me back away and try and be protected and sheltered, but that's not the life that I want to live. And this is what I actually think of myself. And if you consistently say your affirmations every day, all day long, all through the day, every time you catch sight of yourself in a mirror, in a window, every single solitary time, repeat your affirmation. Tell yourself that this is what you believe about yourself, and your brain will stop messing with you and telling you awful things about yourself. Okay. So, this affirmation is today is a fresh start. Today is a brand new day that I will embrace as a new beginning and make the most of this day. Today is a fresh start. Today is a brand new day that I will embrace as a new beginning and make the most of this day. This is what you need to do if you are trying to make that big decision. All right. Come join me for the Big D Challenge. Make up your mind that today is your fresh start. You are not going to be stressed out about this decision any longer. You are going to feel good about it and you're going to move forward and be the queen that you are and show people that it can be done. That just because they said it was impossible, it is not impossible. You're going to be able to do it. All right. I like that part of this. That was the big thing for me. I always very much enjoy doing things that people say that I can't do. Okay. When you tell me, oh no, you can't do that. You can't stay and reconcile and have a happy marriage after you've been cheated on. And I was like, yes, the hell I can. I think I can. I think I can. And then it got to the point where it was like, I can. I know I can. I know I can. I am. And I love proving people wrong. I love the fact that all these years later, lots and lots of couples that are broken up after they've known that he cheated on me and they're like, oh, that will never last and we're still lasting. So I enjoy that tremendously. I enjoy it every day. So I want you to be able to do it too. I want you to be able to prove people wrong about your relationship and yourself. I want them to not even know what's coming next. Okay. When you get out here, you're going to shine like a diamond and you are going to make this relationship into the beautiful, shining symbol of love and forgiveness and compassion. And people are going to be hating. And it's a beautiful thing. I can't even tell you how good it is when people are hating and you did something that they couldn't do. Oh, it's so good. Okay. So I want you to be looking forward to that in 2025. Look forward to actually accomplishing a thing that people will tell you that you can't do. I think that you have found love that inspires you to forgiveness and compassion. And if you have found that, you have found a beautiful, wonderful thing in this world, and you shouldn't have to let go of it. There is absolutely no reason that you should have to. So go ahead, hang tight to it, have the love and the openness and the compassion and the happiness and the trust that you really, really want to have, and show people that they were wrong about you. Okay. All right, y'all. That's about it. That is all I got for you. Thank you so much for joining me for the Healing Hour Live. Oh, so in the meantime, till we meet again next year, I want you to do your deep breathing. I want you to do your journaling, 5 minutes, morning and evening. I want you to start being grateful, start practicing that gratitude. Go ahead and stop asking all those questions that you want to ask and do your affirmations. And more than anything in the whole wide world, do not do what the fear tells you to do. It is a trauma response. It is an automatic thing that your brain wants you to do. The more you fight that, the faster you will be better. Okay? All right, y'all. Make sure you sign up for the Big D Challenge. Get all my free stuff, okay? Go click on all the free stuff, all right? All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining me for the Healing Hour Live. I will be back again next Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Healing Hour Live. Until then, bye, y'all. Bye, Instagram. And bye over here on Facebook and YouTube.